The financial system is essentially moving everything onto a digital platform. The platform that you need, the blockchain, a public chain, needs to be one that has smart contracts. So it's not going to be built on Bitcoin. Wallstreet is choosing to do this on Ethereum. Perspective, the stock was $4.50 when we announced the Treasury strategy, and today the stock's $43. So it's gone up by 10 times. Ethereum has risen by 50%, and that Ethereum is facing a moment that what we call a super cycle.
Welcome to Sampro TV. Today we have Tom Lee with us inside the studio. Many will know Tom as the co-founder of Fundstrat, but he joins us today with a new hat. Recently appointed Chairman of Bitmine, so we're so excited to hear about his new role and his latest insights. Tom, it's great to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Okay. So let's start with your new status. You were recently appointed Chairman of Bitmine, marking a more active involvement in the crypto space. What was the motivation behind this move?
Well, I've been involved with crypto since 2017, and that's when we first wrote about recommending clients buy at least a 1% to 2% position in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin was under $1,000 back then, and it's now over 110,000 today.
Yeah.
So it's been a 100x return. And this year, I became quite constructive on Ethereum because in our view, I think Ethereum is one of the most important macro super cycles for the next 10 to 15 years. And an opportunity came along where I worked with another group called Mosaics. They're good business partners of mine. I've done business with them for about 15 years. And we had an opportunity to create an Ethereum Treasury on an existing company. So this idea really made a lot of sense to us because I think Ethereum is one of the most important sort of super cycle stories for the next 10 to 15 years. And here was a chance to create a company or transform a company in the same way that MicroStrategy did with Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think the new role sure showed the weight of the name Tom Lee because I saw with my two eyes Bitmine soaring more than 100% after you got appointed. Your decision to join Bitmine, was it driven by the long-term vision of crypto or was it because of the business opportunity that you saw in the treasury management?
It's both. Ethereum's very unique because it is a smart contract platform and it's censorship resistant and super resilient. It's 100% uptime since creation. It's never been down. And to build a treasury business on Ethereum means that a company, when they acquire a sufficient stake, let's say 5% of the supply, actually has what I call the power law come into effect. And that means that not only do you have a positive influence on yourself as a company because you own so much, just like MicroStrategy, but you have a positive impact on the Ethereum ecosystem itself because one, you're providing a lot of security by staking, but also you are essentially what you call like a kingmaker, that when you own so much Ethereum that you have a chance to help the DeFi ecosystem flourish. And that means if Wallstreet's going to build on Ethereum, a company like Bitmine will actually play a role in helping sort of evolve and identify the right DeFi protocols to flourish.
But now there are so many crypto treasury firms out there. What was it about Bitmine that stood out to you?
We weren't the first because the first one was SharpLink.
Yeah.
And they were about a month earlier than Bitmine. But Bitmine itself was what I'd call a company that was a suitable candidate to transform because they had an existing Bitcoin mining business. And they had a very clean balance sheet, only a very nominal amount of debt, about $1 million. But the transformation was really led by myself and Mosaic. So we brought in Founders Fund, Stan Druckenmiller, Galaxy Digital, DCG, Kraken, Falcon X.
Wow.
Also that joined us in this effort is Kathy Wood's ARK Funds and Bill Miller. And so we've been able to raise a lot of capital into Bitmine. And that's how Bitmine's become now clearly the largest Ethereum treasury, about 9 billion of Ethereum held. So it's dramatically almost 3 times larger than the second largest now.
Yeah.
And in terms of global crypto treasuries, only MicroStrategy is bigger, with about $72 billion worth of crypto. So Bitmine is the second largest crypto treasury company in the world.
As you mentioned about MicroStrategy, we see players like MicroStrategy going all in Bitcoin treasury, but Bitmine is charting a different course with Ethereum. What is the potential you see in this ecosystem that makes it better asset than Bitcoin?
Well, foremost, I still like Bitcoin, and we still recommend it to clients because Bitcoin is, I think, a ideal store of value. So it's digital gold. Yeah. But in 2025, there is a much bigger transformation underway because the White House has really pushed 2 different agendas. The first is the Genius Act, and that's to essentially greenlight stablecoins. And stablecoins are going to grow dramatically. Today, there's about $280 billion of stablecoins outstanding. Treasury Secretary Bessent thinks it's going to get to close to $4 trillion.
Yeah, he is.
So that's exponential growth. And then there's the SEC's Project Crypto, which is encouraging not only for Wall Street to look at digital assets, but to rebuild Wall Street onto the blockchain.
Oh.
Okay. So this is a dramatic moment where the financial system is essentially moving everything onto a digital platform. The platform that you need, the blockchain, a public chain, needs to be one that has smart contracts. So it's not going to be built on Bitcoin. Wall Street is choosing to do this on Ethereum. So Ethereum is facing a moment that what we call a super cycle, similar to what happened in 1971 when the US dollar went off the gold standard. And that moment is when Wall Street innovated financial products because the dollar became synthetic in 1971. But in 2025, it's now Wall Street essentially digitizing or tokenizing the real world. So Ethereum is unique because, number one, it's the blockchain of choice where Wall Street is building stablecoins and tokenized assets. But Ethereum is a proof of stake blockchain. So Ethereum Treasury companies actually earn a staking yield. So, for instance, the Bitmine, roughly $9 billion of Ethereum held, if it was staked, would generate about $300 million in pre-tax net income.
Wow.
So the company is one of the most profitable companies in America today.
Wow. Ethereum got picked up by Wall Street and it's earning staking yields. So these are the 2 pros why you chose Ethereum instead of Bitcoin.
Yes.
So let's get right to the question from investors. So why would investors need to buy a Bitmine stock instead of just buying Ethereum directly if it's so good?
Yes, that's a great question because someone's going to say, well, if Ethereum can go up a lot, why don't I just buy Ethereum? And one of the differences is that a digital treasury like Bitmine is actually growing how much Ethereum you have per share. So I'll give you an example. On July 8th, when we closed on that initial transaction for taking over Bitmine or transforming it to a Bitmine treasury, an Ethereum treasury, there was $4 of Ethereum per share held at Bitmine. So imagine someone could say, I could buy $4 worth of Ethereum or buy 1 Bitmine share. As of August 24th, Bitmine held $40 of Ethereum per share. So it rose by 10 times. But if someone bought the Ethereum itself, or they bought the Ethereum ETF, they'd still only have $4 of Ethereum per share. So you can see that a treasury company is growing your Ethereum holdings per share. That's why MicroStrategy stock did better than Bitcoin. In August 2020, MicroStrategy stock was $13. Today it's $335. It's gone up by more than 25 times. The price of Bitcoin has gone from 10,000 to 110,000. So it's gone up by 11 times, but MicroStrategy stock's gone up by 25 times. And that's because MicroStrategy, as a treasury company, has grown your Bitcoin per share. And Bitmine is growing your Ethereum held per share every week. It's growing by roughly 50 cents per day.
Okay. That's the reason why we should buy Bitmine instead of Ethereum if we want more profits.
That's right. And to give you a perspective, the stock was $4.50 when we announced the Treasury strategy.
Yeah.
And today the stock's $43. So it's gone up by 10 times. Ethereum has risen by 50% in that period of time. So Bitmine has outperformed Ethereum.
Would there be more losses if Ethereum goes down?
No, actually less.
Oh.
Because you're growing your Ethereum held per share. So if you took the original example,
Yeah.
okay, so let's say on July 8th, you had $4 of Ethereum or $4 worth of Bitmine stock. And then let's say Ethereum went down 50%. The original person only has $2 of Ethereum because they bought it for $4 and it went down 50%. But today, someone has $40 worth of Ethereum, and if it goes down by 50%, it's $20 per share. So you actually made money even though Ethereum fell 50%.
Wow.
So it's a crypto treasury that's properly managed and executed will vastly outperform an ETF or the Ethereum itself. That's why MicroStrategy as a company is larger than any Bitcoin ETF. Because institutions realize it's better to buy MicroStrategy than to buy a Bitcoin ETF.
I should go and buy Bitmine now. So now I want to peek inside the curtain a bit. So could you walk us through how you fund the purchases and where you buy the assets?
Yes, it's very simple. The company only has a very simple balance sheet. It only has equity and it has no debt. So the company is raising money by selling shares primarily to institutional investors. So institutions are buying Bitmine's stock. And then the money that's raised, and it's been running at about $1 billion per week. So institutions are buying about $1 billion worth of stock every week, is used to buy Ethereum spot. So just buying the Ethereum token. There are 3 or 4 exchanges that are executing the trades for Bitmine. So the purchases are being made, with in conjunction with crypto exchanges buying Ethereum for us, and then it's held in custody.
So following on that, are treasury firms like yours able to acquire crypto at a cheaper price compared to retail investors like us?
Yes and no. I mean, Bitmine is able to use very sophisticated strategies to acquire Ethereum that maybe a traditional investor may not have access to, because a traditional investor may go into a crypto exchange and then just buy spot.
Yeah.
But if you're buying $9 billion worth of Ethereum, you can't buy it straight, because then the price would just go to the moon.
Hopes.
Yeah. So it's important to buy Ethereum when there is liquidity.
Oh.
Meaning it's really important to buy the purchases without driving up the price. And it's possible to do. There's many ways, but as a company, we haven't revealed our strategies. But ultimately, the company last week announced it had roughly 1.8 million Ethereum tokens. So it's bought a lot of Ethereum, but it's bought it very quietly.
And it's a secret.
Yes, because we don't want investors to front run what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because that would just drive up the price.
Yeah. So the crypto treasury space is heating up, and as I told you before, more players are jumping in. What really sets Bitmine apart from other growing numbers of players in the field?
Well, anyone can create an Ethereum treasury because we've seen it in Bitcoin. There's 53 Bitcoin treasury companies.
53?
53.
Oh, that's a lot.
There are. But there's really only a handful that have come championed by institutional investors. So of the 53, I'd say only 3 of them actually have institutions buying the stock. MicroStrategy, Metaplanet, and Semler Scientific.
Yeah, maybe that's why I only heard those 3 stocks.
Correct. That's
Yeah.
right. So the other ones are not going to be as successful growing the crypto held per share.
Oh.
Because that's the most important distinguishing factor of a crypto treasury is to grow the holdings per share. So when we look at the Ethereum Treasury space, Bitmine has already separated itself because it's far larger than anybody else by almost 3 times.
Yeah, it is.
And the stock is one of the most liquid stocks in the world. So a way to measure that is trading volume per day. Bitmine trades at about $2.6 billion of stock every day. It is the 20th most traded stock in the United States. And when a stock is liquid, it attracts institutions because institutions only buy stocks that are liquid. They want to be able to get in and out of a stock. And that's why Bitmine has attracted so many institutional investors. Also, in terms of size, Bitmine's market cap is around 10 billion currently, which makes it one of the largest stocks in America today. So institutional investors have to buy large companies because that's going to be part of their benchmark. So,
Wow, this function, it's like making champions more greater.
that's what they call the power law.
Wow.
That in any competitive system, the larger players start to have a disproportionate benefit. And that's why MicroStrategy's valuation is growing because it's the largest. So it's not the smallest company that gets the highest valuation, it's the largest that gets the highest valuation.
And that's the same with Bitmine as well.
Correct, because the next largest crypto treasuries is again 1/3 the size, and every week the distance is growing.
So coming back to Bitcoin and talking about the cycles, there's a lot of debate whether the Bitcoin halving cycle is still the main catalyst. Where do you stand in the debate? Like, have other factors like macroeconomic taken over?
Yes and no. We've written about Bitcoin for a long time, almost 9 years now.
Yeah.
And I've respected the halving cycle because it makes sense. There's a block reward that's shrinking. So therefore that has some effect on mining and the proof of work, and therefore it should have an effect on price and supply.
Yeah.
But that's really a liquidity framework. And liquidity meaning, buying versus selling. There's a much bigger factor driving liquidity in Bitcoin today.
What is it?
Well, there are 2 drivers. One is institutional investors are buying Bitcoin and crypto. Keep in mind that 95% of all Bitcoin has been mined. So there's very little Bitcoin left, 5%. Yes. But, and this is from Bitwise. They had this really great stat, but 95% of institutional investors don't own Bitcoin.
They don't own it?
Yes.
Oh.
So if you think about that, there's only 5% of Bitcoin left.
Yeah.
And 95% of institutions have to buy that 5%. So you can imagine...
That's surprising.
Yeah, you can imagine that will cause an asymptotic rise in Bitcoin's price. That's the first driver.
Oh.
The second driver is that governments are viewing Bitcoin as a reserve asset. The United States is going to... they're not the only country. El Salvador was the first, really.
Yeah.
And when governments begin to buy Bitcoin, that's another buyer of Bitcoin that I think is bigger than the halving cycle. So I think that because of institutions and governments, there probably isn't a halving cycle.
So we have to look out for institutions and also how the governments are going to move. With those cycles in mind, the historical pattern of severe downturn following a halving cycle peak is like a significant consideration that we have to take care of. What is your outlook on this cyclical risk?
I think there is always cyclical risk, even with the stock market, because the stock market has bear markets. But my advice to anyone who invests, and this is from Peter Lynch, there's more money lost worrying about a top in the cycle than in buying good ideas.
Oh.
Okay? Meaning, if you're worried about a cycle top, you're missing out on all the upside. So it's better to actually own it for the long term. And I'll give you an example. In Bitcoin's case, as you know, since 2010 or 2009, so now we have 16 years, you've never lost money owning Bitcoin if you held it for 36 months.
Wow.
So even if you have a downturn, as long as you own Bitcoin for 3 years, you'll never lose money. So maybe that's more important than worrying about a downturn.
Yeah, because it's hard to actually hold on for a long time.
Yes.
When you see it going down.
Yeah, for instance, when we first read about Bitcoin and it was under 1,000, it went to 20, and then it went to 15.
Wow.
And then it went, I think, to 50, and then it went to 13, and then it went to 120.
Wow,
So
that's like a really big
yeah,
fluctuation.
but over that period of time, you made 100 times your money.
Wow.
So we've, and I actually just got an email from a client yesterday that says, that recommendation in 2017 changed his life because he made 100 times his money on Bitcoin. So if you think about that, you only need to have 1 or 2 investments make 100 times your money, and then your life is changed forever. And that's what crypto really is. It's an opportunity to bet on a future. But I think that same 100 times kind of opportunity or that massive upside exists with Ethereum today because it's really one of the blockchains people have chosen to ignore for 5 years.
Yeah,
but there's so many good things happening now.
You know what? I want to change my life as well. So, talking about crypto markets again, we can't just ignore the sharp decline going on. So I'm just curious, how would Bitmine position itself to navigate such scenarios when it goes down?
Oh, yes. Well, that's a great question. As you know, there's 53 Bitcoin Treasury companies, and there's probably 70 or 80 globally crypto treasury companies. So there's a lot of companies. And a downturn in prices is something that we should all expect to happen. If you look at the traditional stock market, because these are companies, there is what I call first principles. The first principle in a downturn is that the company that survives has the cleanest balance sheet. So Bitmine has no debt. It has no convertibles, no preferred. It's just straight common stock. That is the cleanest structure to have in a downturn because it's really the debt that creates the problems for a company when prices fall.
Oh.
And as many people know, the debt holders of a company have a competing motive versus the equity holders. The debt holders don't care about growth. They just want their money back. So as prices fall, the debt holders take a bigger part of the company. So you don't want to have debt if there's a downturn. The second is you don't want to be small because the smaller companies lose their opportunity to finance themselves. So today, globally, Bitmine is the second largest crypto treasury in the world.
Yeah, it is.
Only second to MicroStrategy. So if there is a downturn of crypto prices, the top 2 companies are going to certainly survive. Just like when the S&P fell, the Mag 7 survived.
Yeah.
So MicroStrategy and Bitmine are like the Mag 7 of the crypto treasuries. They both have very clean balance sheets.
So that was the reason why you chose Bitmine, because you talked at the start of the interview, the reason you chose Bitmine was because it had a clean balance sheet.
Yes. Now, it was a very small company on July 8th.
Oh.
It was only $26 million in market cap. So it's really myself and the team that have created Bitmine. Yeah. Bitmine became a big company because of our involvement.
Yeah. Let's shift gears to some stable coins.
Is the first really widely adopted crypto product. They're definitely going to compete. Bitmine will outperform a 50 times rise in Ethereum.
I'm just curious if your perspective on Tesla and Nvidia changed since then.
They haven't. We still like both.
Tesla and Nvidia, which one should I choose?
Oh,